say boom, boom, boom. Everybody say way-ho. Way-ho. Boom, boom, boom. Let me hear you say way-ho. Way-ho.
Checkmate. Today I'm going to talk about mental chess and how powerful your mind is. If, of course, you use it the way you're supposed to use it. Man, you can move mountains. That's what the Bible said, right? If you just had a little bit of faith. But you can literally do that. So let's go to it. We are going to talk about how you can make your mind and your body stronger. Yeah, body is an amazing something. What is it? It's a machine, if you really think about it, with a computer on top. You know, everything that you do to your body comes back stronger. Whoa, think about that. So very basic stuff, right? So bodybuilding, if you want to grow in muscle size, you know what you're doing? You're literally, when you're training your biceps really freaking hard, you're literally tearing your muscles. You're breaking yourself down. That's what you're doing. But then, when you take a rest and you feed protein, you add protein to your diet and rest, that combination is very important, it comes back stronger. So now you're getting bigger. It's crazy how that works. But it works also with your bones, for instance. You know, if you break a bone and you set it correctly, you let it heal correctly, it will never break there again. Might break next to it or another spot, but on that same break that you had, it will not break again. It's just you made it stronger. And you can do something like that as well with your mind. So you can trick your mind in making it doing things that you don't really want to do. That's what I'm going to talk about, because I had to attack that problem a few times because there was just things that I didn't want to do and I was afraid of getting tired. Getting tired, yes, because of my asthma. How did I attack that? Suddenly I became, I would love it to get tired. That's what I'm going to talk about. I just simply brainwashed myself. And even when you know that you're going to brainwash yourself, your brain doesn't know it. So it's very important. There's a lot of little things in there. You're going to need a lot of attention in this one, because every little detail is very important. So flinching, I'm already thinking about flinching. You see, this is my crazy ADD mind. Once I start talking, suddenly, oh, I forgot about flinching. Flinching is very important. You know, if you are flinching, you're telling your mind that something is wrong, which is not a good thing, because now you put it on high alert. Because that's what we're used to since we were a kid. If we are flinching, something is wrong. So not flinching keeps your mind in a relaxed phase. So in my classes, for instance, and I talked about this in training, I will call it poker face, right? Or you can call it stoic. Stoic is somebody who, you know, there's a lot of stuff happened to that person, but on the outside, you won't see anything. This is very important, that you don't show any emotions on the outside. And if you're really able of doing that, then you can trick the inside of yourself as well, which in this case is your brain. Okay, so that's why there's drills for flinching. You know, I will talk about that once we go physical. But I'll put a note down that we have to talk about flinching, because flinching is not good. It's the same as making pain faces in fighting. You don't do that. You will see this in pro wrestling, but that's acting. But you see, if you are in fighting and you show somebody that you're hurt there, yeah, that's going to go wrong, because now he can use it against him. And this is where I come in. You see, I can do things like that on purpose. So I act like I'm hurt. This was actually one of my biggest wishes, and unfortunately I couldn't pull it off. So when I went to the UFC, I was going to be put in a four-man tournament right away for the heavyweight title, because there were no titles, no weight classes before in the UFC. This was the first time that they added a heavyweight title. Heavyweight title will be 200 pounds and over, and then I think they called it light heavy, or even middleweight was 200 pounds and under. Whatever it was, it doesn't really matter. So there were four men putting in that tournament, because it was a four-man tournament spread out over two shows. I was facing Tsuyoshi Kosaka first, and then Kevin Randleman and Maurice Smith were facing each other on the other side, and I was going to face the winner. Now, I thought at the time, because Kevin was just pretty fresh still into mixed martial arts, he was just a freak athlete, but I thought, okay, he might lose this fight against Maurice. Oh, if that happened, since I already fought Maurice twice, I had the perfect brainwash pill in my head already what I was going to do, because he likes to throw low kicks. So I was thinking, if I'm going to face Maurice, I'm going to allow him to give me low kicks. And then after the 4th or 5th low kick, I'm going to be very subtle, acting like I'm hurt. But this you got to be very dangerous with, because if you go, it hurts, that he can smell that it's going to be a trap. Very subtle, just move your leg a little bit, shake it, maybe even switch to southpaw, that will be enough. And especially when you hear his corner going to say, you hurt him with the low kick, you hurt him, because now pride starts coming in. That's when people start making mistakes, you know, because then he's going to focus on the low kick. And once you throw a low kick, a big mistake that a lot of people make always is while they're kicking, they're bringing their hands down. On Inside MMA, and I talked about this many times, you will probably heard me say this before the show ended, it was a live show, before the show ended, the last 10 minutes, we will pay attention to all the fights around the world, not only the UFC, but Bellator, every single organization, and we show highlights from those organizations, from people who are getting knocked out or getting submitted. And you always heard me say, no single kicks, because I'm telling you, from the knockouts, in those events, 80% or higher are always done because they throw a kick, a single kick, and they forget to put their defense on. You can only imagine, if I give you a right low kick and my defense are here, the only thing your opponent has to do is give you a cross simultaneously, and you're going down. So this was my setup. I was thinking, okay, if I'm going to face Maurice and he's going to start low kicking me, I'm going to be very subtle with acting like I'm hurt. Now his corner's going to start yelling, and especially when you hear his corner start shouting to him, he's hurt, go after it. He's going to forget everything. He's going to see one thing. He sees the finish line. And the finish line will be giving me another low kick. He's going to forget about his defense, and all the focus is going to be on that leg, and he probably will pick the spot out. And then when he comes with the full low kick and his heads are down, the only thing I'm going to do is, boom, catch him and knock him out. And then I would celebrate to the rest of the world like, ha ha ha, I wasn't hurt at all. So that was actually my wish that I could do that. Unfortunately, Maurice didn't win, and it became Kevin Randleman. I'm thinking about this. This is really fun because I didn't prepare this. It was kind of the same thing with Randleman. I had something as well. So the day before the fight, I'm in the elevator, and you also heard me talk about this story in the past. I was standing in the elevator by myself in the hotel where all the fighters are, right? The door opens, and there's Kevin, and nobody's with him, and he steps in. So now he and I, who are going to face the next day, we're going to face each other in the main event at UFC 20, are in the elevator. And it's quiet. And I see the reflection of the door that just went closed. It was like this golden chrome reflection. So I could see his face really clear, and he could see my face really clear as well. So he goes, suddenly he says, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great, bud. How you doing? He says, great. He said, if you promise to keep your feet on the floor, I won't take you down. Meaning, if I'm not going to kick, he said that he was not going to take me down. But this is before a fight. There's a lot of hand games playing, right? So I go, really? And he goes, yeah. I go, okay. I said, well, let me think about that, right? And the elevator opens, and I see the smirk on his face. We're just having fun. And I go, hey, good luck tomorrow. He says, yeah, you too. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Boom, the elevator closes. The next day, I'm in the fight. And the very first thing that Randleman did to me, so he won the battle in the in the brain department there. You watch the fight. The first thing that he does is he's slapping his thigh, like, come on, kick me. And now I'm confused because he said in the elevator, if I was not going to kick him, he was not going to take me down. So I go, okay, well, let's kick him. So I made a very fast kick, and he backs out of my kicks. Now, mind you, I did not train for kicks at all in this fight, because against a wrestler like freaking Kevin Randleman, you will be taken down. And that's going to be a problem, of course. Oh, no. So, yeah, that will be a problem. So I didn't train at all. But when he invited me to give him a low kick, this is what I did. I played a mind trick on him, not knowing that he was setting me up, actually. So what I did, in my mind, I go, oh, he's going to expect me to kick. I'm going to make a roundhouse kick. And then that favorite kick that I showed you many times, I switch it into a front kick. So if he decides when I throw a kick to take me down, I might be able with a front kick to kick him straight into the face. And I win the fight by knockout. In under 20 seconds, I'm gonna look like $1 million. That was my plan, right? So as soon as I did that, he moved out. And I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. And that completely threw my game plan out the window. Wait a minute, we didn't train for low kicks or for kicking because he was gonna take me down. But now he's moving away from my kicks. Let's start kicking. And the very first kick I made, he took my ass down. He completely set me up, you see? So I tried to play games with him, but he won that battle. Now, there's a few examples, and one that you probably heard me say before as well, and unfortunately, I have only one of those. I have some more crazy stories, but this was gold. This was literally that I go, okay, boss, you can be proud of yourself. So, I'll set the scene. My buddy Hector Pena, unfortunately, he passed away. He was a tremendous kickboxer. He was at that time, he was the highest decorated Mexican fighter of all time, kickboxer. I mean, 14 world titles. The guy was insane. He was really good. 155 pounds, super fast, super powerful. Boom, we're training. He's facing an opponent that is known for his low kicks, right? So this is 10 days before the fight, and Hector is an animal. So he starts going really hard on me. And I stop him, and I say, dude, we're before a fight. You know, this is very fun for you because you know I can't do anything back right now because I can't hurt you. But you got to slow down because this is going way too hard. There's no need to go too hard. We have to slow down a little bit. But he turned it up. He went harder. So I won him again. I think I won him 2 or 3 more times. And then I said, dude, I'm going to fire back. And me, the idiot, I did it. I shouldn't have done it. But, you know, as soon as he freaking punched me really freaking hard, I gave him like 2 very heavy low kicks. And for the people at home who know, when you talk about a heavy low kick, that's like my whole weight is in the low kick. And he's out. He's down. And he goes, shit. And I hurt his leg. And again, this is 10 days before the fight. Low kicks, they don't heal really fast. It's not going to be overnight. No, he's going to feel that for at least 2-3 weeks. So that's a problem. So I'm looking at him, and he goes, because we know they're very good with low kicks. Oh, crap. What do we do? So I looked at Hector, and I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll make sure he's not going to throw a low kick. He goes, how are you going to do that? I said, let me work on that. So we arrived on the day of the fight. We go to the show. I asked the promoter, where's he warming up? And he says, in that room. So I knock on the door, and then he opens the door. I say, oh, man, you guys are warming up in here. Ah, darn. I said, we need a place to warm up. He goes, yeah, no, but don't worry, boss. Because Hector and I used to train together. And, you know, so it's okay. You can warm up here. I said, that's okay. We found some really good counters for your low kicks, and I don't want you to see those. So don't worry about it. We'll find another room to warm up. That was the only thing I said. We found really good counters to your low kicks, and I don't want you to see them. And I just waved it off. If I would have in his face, we found really good low kicks, not going to work. But just wave it off like this, watch. So I closed the door, and Hector looks at me. I said, the seed has been planted. He didn't throw 1 low kick. 0. You see, in his mind, he already thought that whatever low kick he was going to throw, we were going to counter. And completely shut him down with low kicks. So things like that really work. I had this actually with Kimbo. Kimbo was a little bit angry about me because he thought I was striking up a really friendly conversation with his opponent, Shamrock, at the time. Now, first of all, I always do that. I don't have hate against those people. But what Kimbo didn't know I was doing was something else. Because now I can talk about this because it's after the fight. Kimbo had a problem with his knees. And we couldn't go over leg lock defenses. And I wanted him to do the kickouts and the rollouts the whole time, but he says, no, my knees are hurting, I said, dude, this is important. You're facing a guy who gave me my last loss by way of leg submission. So you need to do these kickouts. He says, no, I cannot do them. I go, dude, that's not going to be good. So I was really bummed about that. So my counterattack was going to be, okay, once I meet Ken, and Ken and I are very friendly because I know Ken since '93. I mean, we were on the first show in Pancras, September 21st, 1993, we were fighting together. And he and I have always been friends, always been friendly. I've never had a problem with it. Everybody always thinks that he's an ass. He's not. He's a really friendly guy. He sometimes has a look on his face and fighters or fans don't want to approach him, but I always tell them, I said, listen, just walk up to him. You watch. I mean, this is a really great guy. and I was going to play a first reverse mind game with him. I was going to say, hey Ken, how you doing, man? Good, boom, 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 strike up a conversation, and then say, can you do me a favor? I want you to see if you can leg lock Kimbo. I just want to, I want to see if you're going to be able to leg lock Kimbo. That was going to be my conversation towards Ken Shamrock. Because in Ken's mind, he might think, ooh, they probably found really some good counters. Why does he want me to attack his legs? The last time I beat Boss was by way of leg lock. That would be not a smart thing. Oh, they have to know something more than they need to know something that I don't know. So maybe not go for leg locks. That was my setup. You see what I mean? But then the fight entirely didn't happen. Even the conversation didn't happen because before the conversation would take place, the fight was already off. But that was my setup. That's what I was going to do with him. Then I have different ways. For instance, Mark Kerr. Mark Kerr, I was training him. And when he went to the Pride Fighting Championships, I was the guy who started training him. And we all know that striking was not his forte. He was a really good wrestler, really good ground and pound. And once you got a guy like him on top of you, it's going to be a problem. So what I would do if for instance, the opponent was in the dressing room next door, I would have my two focus mitts. And I would make sure that the focus mitts are perfectly straight. You have these curved ones, but you have the straight ones. I needed the straight ones because I needed them to make sound when I would hit him. And then I would say, cross hook! I would shout really loud and I go, bam, bam! And if I do this with my hands, it sounds like freaking, he hit my focus mitts with such an incredible power. So now imagine you're the opponent sitting next door, cross hook, cross! And I go, bam, bam, bam! And then with the sound from the focus mitts, it sounds like shotguns are getting off. That guy's gonna go, shit, he hits really hard. But I'm just painting a picture in his mind. I'm just trying to distort his mind a little bit, making him afraid of the power. Now maybe he doesn't want to throw punches because he thinks that Mark hits incredibly hard. By the way, Mark didn't hit soft at all. He hit hard, but not the way I was hitting these freaking focus mitts. And I was really good at it, doing it fast as well. You see, that's another a mental thing that you can put in somebody's head. Now, I also do this with my friends, and this is just to mess around with them. With my wife, I was just telling my buddy Scott here the story about I'ma be rich, baby, rich, I'ma be, that song. That song is a song that if you say that to somebody, you sing it to somebody, it might be in their head all day long. So yesterday, I was singing this song, and my wife said, you gotta stop because I can't get rid of this song in my mind. So now she gives me fire. She gives me fire because I'm going to use that against her. By the way, she's a master with that as well. So around 9:30 when she's getting ready to go to bed, I suddenly go really loud. And I know I'm planning it in her head and it's going to make her very difficult to fall asleep. I did this with a good friend of ours, Scott and I. We had this song, boom, 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 let me hear say wayo. I'm just giving you an example because you're going to have to try this out yourself. It's hilarious. You can do this to everybody, right? So there is this clip. If you go online on YouTube, you go boom, 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 let me hear, it will already pop up. There's this girl who sits by herself behind the computer and she plays the soundtrack of that song. And she goes, boom, boom, boom. And then she times it such a way, let me say, way-ho, and then the soundtrack answers, way-ho, boom, 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 let me say way-ho, way-ho. Now that song, it's hilarious, but you show that to somebody, it will be in their head all day long. So,
I say boom, 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 then everybody say way-ho. I say boom, 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 then let me hear you say way-ho. I say boom, 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 then everybody say way-ho. Boom, 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 then let me hear you say way-ho. I say boom, 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 then everybody say way-ho. I say boom, 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 then let me hear you say way-ho. I say boom, 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 then everybody say way-ho.
the next day we're working together, and he walks in, and I see he's really tired. And I go, what's going on, dude? Did you sleep right? He says, that stupid song. Every time I want to go to sleep, I go, boom, 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 he hears that song in his head. So I go, oh, I'm going to get this guy. You know, so now I made a voice note of boom, 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 let me hear say wayo. And I know he goes to sleep around 10:30, and that's when I sent him a voice note. You know, and I know he's pushing it, and the first thing he hears is that lady, boom, 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 let me hear say wayo. You see, stuff like that. Oh man, I love it. And you can play tricks like that to anybody. Anyway, to break that is simply not to listen. I had crazy habits. I was obsessive compulsive, which is good for fighting because you can really push yourself and you say certain things to yourself and you're going to do it. But I did weird things. Like if I open the door, I have to touch it on one side and I have to touch it on the other side and maybe one more time before I can walk away from the door. And then I start realizing this is very dangerous. You know, because now I'm getting into these crazy habits. I should not do this. So I had another habit, and this really was the one that made me break the habits of the obsessive compulsive behavior that I was doing. I would suddenly drive on the freeway, and then I would see a mile little pole, you know, in Holland's kilometers. Every kilometer you have one. And I would just hold my breath for 1 kilometer till the next one. But then one day, I hold my breath, and there's a traffic jam. And I have to stop. Now, you have to understand my obsessive compulsiveness is freaking, if I take something to the limit, I'll take it to the limit. But I couldn't breathe because I had to go to the next freaking pole first, the kilometer pole. So I start going on the side of the freeway. Imagine this, I'm an adult doing this on the side of the freeway, passing everybody because I have to go to the 1 kilometer pole. Otherwise, I'm not allowed to breathe. You see what I mean? This is stupid stuff. If you do one of those things, stop it. You know what people always ask me, are you superstitious? My go-to answer is, no, it's bad luck to be superstitious. Let that sink in, because that's an oxymoron. That's a joke as well. It's bad luck to be superstitious. You see what I mean? Let's do it. Stop it, that bullcrap. You don't need it. Now, if there's a favorite shirt that you wear or favorite shorts that I had in Pancras, be my guest, wear with it. But always know that if somebody takes that away from you, that's a problem. Now I'm thinking of this. I don't know what it was anymore. Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger getting pumped or something. There's this big documentary when I was 20 years old. We're talking 1985, about Schwarzenegger. And what he did, I remember before the match, he took something away from Lou Ferrigno that was really dear to Lou Ferrigno, like for good luck or something. It was a little plush bear. It was something. Please look into that. But what he did it on purpose. The next day, of course, he gave it back. But he just disturbed him because he knew he was really attached to that particular thing that he wants to have with him. So if they take it away, that might start messing around with his mind. It's always like that. I'll give you 2 more examples because I'm doing this right now and I wrote some bullet points down, but nothing popped up. What I'm trying to say, this I didn't write down, but they're popping up. We saw this with McGregor and Diaz when they were facing each other. Now, McGregor always gets in your face, and he's freaking bull rushing you, gets in your face, and no other fighter does anything. With Nate Diaz, it didn't work. He tried to intimidate him. These are the guys, man, the freaking Diaz brothers for Stockton. They don't care about anything. So he saw that whatever he was doing, it wasn't working. And then Diaz got in his face, and he broke character. At the weigh-ins, watch, suddenly he starts hitting the head, he breaks character, he gets angry about the fact that his opponent didn't get scared. And my buddy, my son-in-law, my soon-to-be son-in-law sits next to me, he says he's going to lose. And I go, what do you mean, Shaq? He goes, he's going to lose. I mean, he just broke. I mean, he got it mentally. And dude, he was right. So now we go forward, and now was suddenly Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. And it was the same thing. At the weigh-ins, she goes into her face. Every other girl, they always try to act like they're not afraid, but you can tell there's something going on. And Mike Tyson talks about this as well. And she gets in the face from Holly Holm, and Holly was just standing there. She might even have had a smirk on her face. And Ronda broke character. Suddenly she gets angry and she starts pushing something she never did before, because she didn't see that whatever she was bringing didn't have the desired effect. And I look at my wife, I go, well, with the reasoning of Shaq, she's going to lose. And she lost that fight. You see, so there's a lot of stuff happening in the mind. Last thing, also didn't write down, but now it's popping up. Dojo fighting. Dojo fighters. Ask any fighter what dojo fighters are, and they will immediately give you an answer. The dojo fighter is the guy who's really good in training. I was like that in Thai boxing. Really good in training, but I couldn't put it together yet under stress with all the family members and friends are watching. You know, that is completely inside your head. Because everything happens here. Why can't I perform exactly the same? Because that's pressure. Once you can leave that pressure outside, this is where you're going to shine, and that's when you become a stronger fighter. That happened with me in Pancras. I talked about that. If you don't remember, go to my first fight in Japan. Here on Planet Boss, you will see I go into a deep explanation of what happened with me right there. But that was the moment. Before I was this angry fighter, and I was blessed with having great genetics, so I just knocked everybody out. But you know, if I would face a guy like freaking Ernesto Hoost or Peter Erst, like freaking real great strikers, that would have been a problem for me, because there's no way I can come out of the second round, because I empty myself, you know, because I'm so uncontrolled, everything goes out. So the mindset is everything. The more peaceful you can keep your mindset, the better it is. But it starts with everything. And when I say everything, I mean pretty much everything. When I do power training, and when I lift weights, and when it's really heavy, why do people do this? Why do they do that? There's no need for that at all. You know why we do it? We're seeking attention. It's attention seeking. It's something that we did as kids to show everybody it's really heavy. Look at my facial expression, it's really heavy. And we carry that same stuff, we carry that over to our adulthood. But it's stupid. You know, you don't have to cry for when you hurt yourself. You don't have to pain for, this hurts, oh man. Why can't you say, oh man, this hurts. This really hurts. You see, it's all in the mind. But when you were young and you did a pain face, it was almost like, here comes the smolder from the movie. That's for the people who have kids and who understand that movie. But you see, it's an attention-seeking thing, and you can leave that alone. So what I'm doing with my students, if they do power training, they're not allowed to make any expressions on their faces. Doesn't matter how heavy the weight is going to be. You cannot make a facial expression. You see, it's hard for me to do with my right arm because this is really weak. It's really, as you can see, my arm here, it's got a whole hole. It's atrophied from neck surgeries. These are the nerves stop firing to my muscles, and then the muscles simply don't work. So if I do this, and I do this every day, I'm working out. With my left, it's very hard for me, very easy for me if I have a heavy weight to not make any pain face. With my right, it's a very hard thing to do because every fiber in my arm and supporting muscles that carry everything, they need it. So most of the time you see me doing a little bit like this, which I can't stand of myself doing it. So I'm really trying to focus, but somehow that I didn't master yet. I don't know why it is, but it's because, I know it's because of the nerve damage. That's the only reason, because otherwise I can't control it. But this is how deep I go with it. So punching people in the face, don't look, punching it back, just look like this. Just look relaxed. Watch your power and intensity go up. Because now all these other muscles that you're using, these are all muscles you're using. Keep everything calm. You want to have the ultimate personification of being relaxed? Fedor Emelianenko. Kazushi Sakuraba. And fortunately for me, after I started fighting in Japan, it happened with me as well. Every picture you see me in Thai boxing is trying to kill somebody. In Japan, it's just like, whatever. Somehow, suddenly, I got the calmness over me, and that excelled me, propelled me. As the striker, I was always in training. Now I was that same guy in training. I was also doing fighting. And that is the goal you want to go towards to, because that's when everything becomes really interesting. That's when you're going to shine. Another example I always use, Kobe Bryant. That's one of the greatest ever, right? Let's imagine the game is over, it's down to penalty shooting or whatever it is, and he has to hit all three. And depending on if he hits all three of them, then they're going to win the game. If he misses one, they're going to lose the game. Think about the amount of pressure that he has at that moment. Now, Kobe Bryant was a different cat. He just freaking drops them all three. But what I'm trying to say is that if the pressure is on, you start overthinking things. And once you start overthinking things, that's when things go wrong. That's why you see actors, using a lot of alcohol is used in acting, you know, and a lot of these guys are alcoholics as well, because they're very nervous, they take a few drinks, they're completely relaxed, and their acting goes really well. Now they attach being calm and relaxed to alcohol, so now they're going to need this for every scene. And that's when sometimes you'll see these things going out of control, because we all know how addiction works, right? Well, those first 2 beers that he only drank for the very first time he did it, they're not going to work anymore, because your body knows how to deal with it, and now you're going to need more in order to have that same effect. It becomes 3 or 4, and that's the fine line. Now it starts going up. Now you start drinking more. That's a very dangerous line you're walking. Just always think about that. Whatever you give to yourself, your body will get used to it. However great you feel, like steroids. I go like, how is this possible that all these fighters are using steroids, right? That happened until the very first time when I took testosterone after my, I talked about this in addiction. So if you want to talk, you want to listen to it, go to the addiction episode that I did, and I really bring it down to details. I'm not going to do this right now because I want to keep continuing. What I'm trying to say is I was for 3 years, I had a testosterone level of 5. 500? No, 5. So it's almost 0, nothing. Women have 70. Guys, to have that under 100, you can't come out of bed anymore. So when they gave me that first shot of testosterone, because I needed to get my levels up, I felt on top of, I felt like I was 20 years old again. I remember going to the gym with Tiffany Versus was there. And she was ready for a fight, and I was going to hold her. And I put on my shin guards and started sparring with her. I felt so insanely good. But that's only for like about 3 weeks. Because then your body gets used to that feeling. And from that moment on, just like with alcohol or any other drug out there, you need more to get that same effect back. And that's the moment I realized, so that's why we see fighters getting caught with 16 times the amount of freaking testosterone in the body. They're just trying to go after their first high, which is, you know, that always everybody. You take your first line of cocaine, you go, whoa, that you will never have again. But everybody's chasing that first line. That's how it goes, and that's the same with steroids. So whatever you put in your body, you're going to need more. Talking about mental stuff as well. It's like, this is how with crazy porn and all these crazy things are happening. It's because every time when you do put the nipple clamps on, okay, guess what? After 20 times of doing that, not interesting anymore. We need something new. Oh, and they bring us something new and bring us something new. All the things that you bring to the table are going to be normal again, because you're doing it over and over again. And that's when real bad things start happening. Then it's like, oh, what if I take a younger guy? You see, then it becomes very dark. And some of these people, not all of them, of course not, I'm talking about exceptions, they suddenly go to a very dark place and they start doing it with underage. But it's all starts because they're feeling something that you cannot attain. You're always going to need more in order to get that same feeling. And that's addiction in a freaking nutshell for you. So whatever makes you happen to do things like that, stop doing that. Now the biggest one that I always use is I used to do these talks for these 550 kids. I moved now from California, and unfortunately the person who put it up, who set it up, he passed away. And he was just a really great guy. So I didn't do these talks anymore, but I did like 7 times. So I go to a high school, and then at the very last day, I talk to all these kids who are now going to college or they're going to start working. And then I tell them what they should prepare for, right? But my very first question, I always talk about habits, creating good habits, because that's the only way for you to stop addiction and stop everything else is creating good habits. So my very first question to that big group is always, how many of you, by show of hands, woke up this morning from the alarm clock, hit the snooze button, 10 minutes later, hit the snooze button, 10 minutes later, hit the snooze, and did it like for 5 or 6 times. And you'll be amazed. I mean, 85-90% of the hands go up. Everybody's pretty much doing that. And you go, guys, that's the dumbest habit you can have on the planet. The reason why it's stupid is because, first of all, it's a dumb thing. But second of all, it's the last hour you didn't really sleep anymore, right? You wake up, you fall asleep, then you wake up 10 minutes later again, you fall asleep 10 minutes again, so you don't really solid sleep anymore. What would be way better and smarter for you to do is tonight, when you come home, you put on your phone or whatever alarm clock you're using, you make your alarm 1 hour, you set it 1 hour later. And then you tell yourself, listen, if I'm going to wake up this morning, tomorrow morning from the alarm, I'm going to sit up in my bed immediately because it's the only way to break it. So the alarm goes up, sit up straight. Don't go back to bed and walk out. Yes, that might be hard to do, maybe the first few times, but soon enough, and especially after 2 weeks, it's the new norm. Now it's normal. Now you just broke a really bad habit and you replaced it for a good habit. So everything is about habits. And if you look at the world right now, it looks like everybody's hitting the snooze button on every aspect in the world. We are all a bunch of pussies. That's a weird way of saying that word, right? Yeah, because I'm not saying that word. I said pussy. I made an abbreviation from the word pusillanimous. And I put that into, wait a minute. Why is abbreviation such a long word? Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, Scott is laughing. He's got it here behind the camera. It's a joke! That's what it is, you know. So I made an abbreviation for the word pusillanimous. You know what it stands for? Lack of courage or determination. And in some dictionaries it also says cowardly. And that's what we are right now. There's always exceptions to every rule that I'm saying. There's always exceptions. But unfortunately, most of us we're pussies. And that includes me as well. We all have our little vices and our little things that we simply cannot quit because we are a pussy. Well, the only way to stop alcohol is to man up and to say no. No, boss, it's deeper than... No, it's not deeper than that. That's just it. The same with drugs, with everything. Every person before you who quit alcohol or quit any drugs or whatever, ultimately, they did it with willpower. Sure, they might have had help from the family members, and this is very important, maybe even some with medication, but at the very end, the only way to stop it is by willpower. Just telling yourself, no, I'm not going to drink. And to say no to all these voices who are telling you, it's okay. You know, oh, you hurt yourself. Oh, you see, it's okay, you hurt yourself. You can drink a beer. And then tomorrow we start again. This is the alcohol talking to you. These demons are talking to you. Don't. Say no, say no, say no. And again, we are doing this right now with everything. I want to lose weight. Oh, now what do I do? Oh, wait a minute. Hey, it's very easy. Tomorrow, it's the weekend. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up at 9 o'clock. I'm going to sign up for a gym and I'm going to start training. Tomorrow, my life is going to be different. And the next day, when the alarm clock goes, you guessed it, they hit the snooze button. We'll do it next week. And in Holland, you have a saying, from uitstel komt afstel. That means from when you try to push something, from pushing something forward comes completely canceling it. That's what they say. So it's always best to do immediately when you want to do it. So if you say you want to start losing weight, you want to start joining a gym, see if you can do it today. If it's already night, do it tomorrow morning. Don't do it next week or the next month or the first. Don't do that. Do it immediately, because otherwise you're not going to do it. This is my whole life is based on this. If I left for Karate Combat, I'm the announcer for Karate Combat and I'm the host of the show, together with Josh Palmer, who's my co-host. But if I get 3 weeks before the show, I get all the fighters in and all their names in, I start already working on their profiles. I completely finish it that very first day when I get everything in. But boss, you still have 3 weeks to do that. I know, but a lot can happen in 3 weeks. Some things might jump in between that needs my attention and I'm not going to be able to do this. So my golden rule is whatever you can do now, which is from something that you're going to have to do anyway, do it now. That's it. If you're going to say, oh, I go to the restroom, then I brush my teeth, then I do this, then I do that, it's all good. You know, but it's something out of the order. You say, you know what, I do my brushing the teeth afterwards. It doesn't matter in what order you do it. It all takes the same time. It's just reorganizing and making sure you're doing it before. Don't do it after, because once you start doing it after something big, then that becomes the norm. And once that becomes the norm, you're losing your habit. You know, habits are very easy to develop, but as easy they are to develop, that's how easy they are to lose again. You know, so if I tell myself every day I wake up at 9, I wake up at 9, and you wake up at 9, I don't even put an alarm clock. Every day I'm up at 5:30. I never put an alarm clock, only when I travel. Just to make sure, because I don't want to take the risk, of course. But you know, if after 2 or 3 weeks doing it, and I'm used to 9 o'clock, suddenly I decide it's going to be 9:30. Well, doing a week of 9:30, now I'm falling back in the old habit. Now it's going to be hard to break that habit again. You see, start breaking habits and not getting rid of a habit. You want to take a habit, a bad habit, and you want to make it into a good habit. That's the best way to attack the habit problem. It's important. So we know that the more we hit that snooze button, the weaker we get, right? For instance, I give examples of these public talks that I do. Imagine you're working at a place, and there's always this one guy, and if you say, hey, good morning, he always says, hey, good morning, asshole, and you know it comes from a good place, because otherwise he wouldn't do that. So it's kind of fun. But you know, over time, this starts kind of bothering you a little bit. So you're telling yourself every single day, tomorrow morning, when I see him again, you know, in front of everybody, hey, asshole, how you doing? You know, maybe I should afterwards say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And then just explain in a very nice way, listen, I know it comes from a good place. I know there's no bad intentions. I don't understand that, but it starts getting to me. Could you please stop doing that? That will be it. That's the only thing you need to ask. But we're such a pussies, we don't ask. So the next day comes along, hits the snooze button. I'll do it tomorrow. Then the next day comes again, hits the snooze button. The only way for you to stop it is to not hit the snooze button. Because the more you hit the snooze button, the weaker you get. And the harder it becomes for you to speak up and do something. And if you've been doing that for years, it's going to be very hard to undo that. This again is for addiction, this counts for everything. If you have a problem that you want to fix, there's no other way than to fix that problem so it's not a problem anymore. It's the only way. You can dance around, it will come back to bite you in the butt later on. It always is like that. So face it. Go to the hardship of maybe 5 minutes, but then it's gone, it will never be there again. That's with kicking addiction, the same thing. I went through hell. I mean, 11 days, like very bad, cutting Suboxone. I go over that in the addiction episode that we had. It's very hard, but I know also every time you want to quit, and you want to take it again, but then your mind tells you, boss, if you quit, you're going to have to do this next year again. It will always come back. In history, there will be not one person who is successful, has stayed successful because he was doing a lot of drinking and a lot of drugs. There's not one. You can't. You know, they talk about the Scarface, the movie. Don't get high of your own supply, right? That's a big line in there. Well, he didn't do that. What happened to him? He freaking died. Very simple. You got to break the habit. There's certain rules that you have to live by, and especially in fighting. So, let's talk about a few of these things, right? Stamina. Stamina was very hard for me. Why was stamina very hard for me? It was more mental, because I was a severe asthma patient growing up. Again, I'll talk about this in different episodes, and you know by now, I don't have to go into that. But a week in bed, not able to eat because I couldn't breathe, that was my asthma. So I was very afraid of getting tired. It was a mental thing. It was not really physical. So I knew that I had to like getting tired. How on earth am I going to like getting tired? Well, let's give it a shot. And let's hang with the shot. Let's make a new habit that every time I get tired, I start shouting, oh, I love it! I want to get more tired. I want to get more. See if I can get more tired. And that's what I started doing to myself. Every single time, really trying to convince my own freaking mind, who know I was lying, to go over that. And what do you know? Been doing that for weeks, and suddenly, now I needed to get tired in order to feel really good. Because now if I didn't get really freaking tired, I would in the car ride back home, I would feel like a loser. I didn't give it up my all. You see, I flipped it around. I just forced myself to do it. And if I can do it, that's what I tell everybody, you can do it. Submissions, I talked about this also in an episode. I didn't like it. I thought it was for weak people, submissions. Whatever. But after my last loss, I knew I needed to change because there was 3 losses by submission now. I better learn this game or I stop. That's what I was saying. But I don't want to. It's stupid. But I forced myself to like it. And I found one training partner. And guess what? We suddenly realized the things that you can do with submissions, it's way tougher than punching and kicking. Any submission fighter out there, Doesn't matter if he's a blue belt or not. He already can do it. He can pretty much dislocate any joint in your body or break any bone in the body. If that's not a huge power to have, I don't know what else is. It's better than freaking kickboxing or Thai boxing or whatever it is. You see what I mean? And if you combine it, oh yeah, now you got everything. Combined, you can do everything. But you see, it's all in the mental head. You can train everything. So the stamina trick was the first thing I did. And then I did the submissions, because that's also a big one. And another thing that I always say in interviews as well is that when you don't like something, but it's part of your job, try to do that a lot. But boss, hear me out. Most of the time, you don't like it because you don't understand it. So put everything together, an hour, 2 hours, whatever you need, with a person. You say, hey, let's break this down. That's the same thing with me, with submissions and fighting. I didn't like it. No, but it's part of my job. I better be good at it. Same as stamina. You know, I always say that with stamina, if you're a painter and you come in with a half a can of paint, what are you doing here? You need a full can. You need to be able to finish what you started. That's the same thing in fighting. You have to finish what you started. You cannot come in with half a tank full. You have to have a full tank all the time. So do it with everything and getting yourself mentally stronger. Yeah, but I don't want to do it. Force yourself doing it. And that's the weak society we're living in right now. You know, we're complaining about the AC. It's too cold, too hot. It's never good. Right? The food, oh, it's too bad. Oh no, that I don't eat. I know it's really healthy for you, but I can't stand eating. You see, I'm completely different with that. I eat food and I drink liquids for the nutrition, for the value. Also means, this is also bad what I'm going to say, I drink alcohol for the alcohol. Because I'm an alcoholic. Doesn't matter what it tastes like. I want to get drunk. Whatever brings me there, I'm going to take it. You see what I mean? It's the same with food. Food, and this is the good way again, I know if I eat bad food, it's bad for me. Healthy food is healthy food. So let's do it healthy food. But you need to prepare, because sometimes you get in a situation like you wake up in the middle of the night, you know you're hungry and you want to eat, and there's only chocolate and candy and whatever. Guess what you're going to eat? You're going to eat that. But it's just, again, it's preparation. Make sure. So get these weaknesses out. Stop being a pussy. Stop having lack of courage. Stop having a determination. Stop being a coward. That's what you really are. A coward if you think about it. Look at drugs. You're a slave to drugs. Alcohol, same thing. Whatever overcomes a man, to that he is enslaved. That's what the Bible says. A slave. Yes, you are a slave. Yeah, because that alcohol tells you, actually it doesn't even speak. It doesn't have to speak. Just be in the same room. It's got more power than you. Because guess what you're doing? You try to find any reason in your mind possible to get that. Yeah, yesterday was a little kind of a horrible day. I had some bad news today. My brother was sick. Oh, goes, are you sick? He's sick. Okay, let's drink the alcohol. You try to find any excuse. The real guy says, no, I don't care about that shit. I'm going to stop. That's the real man.